All right, let's talk about the system that fills our lives with, well, stuff. And we're going to ask a really important question. Is there a better way forward? Or are we stuck on this one-way street that leads straight to the landfill?
Have you ever had that feeling? You know the one. Your phone starts getting kind of slow right when the shiny new model is announced. Or maybe your printer just gives up. Well, it turns out that feeling, it's not just in your head.
Yeah, there's actually a name for this, and believe it or not, it's a core part of our modern economy. We're talking about products that are, and this is the crazy part, literally designed to break. And here it is, planned obsolescence. It's this whole strategy of deliberately designing a product to become useless after a certain amount of time, whether it's making it seem unfashionable, making it work poorly, or having it just stop. And, this used to sound like a wild conspiracy theory, but today, it's a well-documented, very real business strategy. So, what's the goal here? Why would anyone do this? Well, it's pretty simple, really. It all comes down to money. The faster your stuff breaks down, the sooner you have to go out and buy a new one. This whole process shortens what's known as the replacement cycle. And for companies, that means keeping those sales numbers looking good. Okay, so how do they get away with it? Well, a few things have to be in place. First, the company making the product knows exactly how long it's going to last, but you, the customer, don't. That's a power imbalance called information asymmetry. This whole strategy works best when just a few big companies control the market, an oligopoly, and when we're all loyal to our favorite brands. But, and this is key, competition can totally shake things up. Just look at the car industry back in the 60s and 70s. When super durable Japanese cars hit the US market, American car makers had no choice but to start building vehicles that lasted longer. But planned obsolescence, as big as it is really just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. It's part of this massive system, this giant one-way street that starts with resources from the earth and ends with a pile of stuff we throw away. And that massive system, we call it the supply chain. You've probably heard the term, but it's basically the entire journey a product takes, from digging raw materials out of the ground to manufacturing them into something you'd buy, all the way to distributing it and getting it into your hands.
And for the longest time, that supply chain has followed a very simple, very linear model. It's a straight line, just like you see here. We take resources, we make products, we distribute them, and then we just discard them as waste. That's it. Take, make, waste. It's a one-way flow with no turning back.
So you can probably see the problem here. A system like that, this linear, wasteful model, it just isn't built to last. So what's the alternative? Well, the big goal, the destination we really need to aim for, is sustainability. The word sustainability actually comes from the Latin sustinere, which means to hold up or to endure. And that's exactly what it's about today. It's the idea of creating a world where our society, our economy, and our environment can all not just survive, but actually thrive together for a long, long time. Now, here's a quick but important point that often gets mixed up. You can think of it this way. Sustainability is the goal, right? It's the destination, that more balanced world we're trying to reach. Sustainable development, on the other hand, is the process. It's all the different roads and pathways we can take to actually get to that destination. Okay, so how do we actually start building those pathways? How do we move towards sustainability? Well, the big idea is to completely rethink that linear model. We need to turn that straight line we saw earlier into a circle. It's all about closing the loop. A huge part of this is the concept of zero waste. And listen, this goes way beyond just being better at recycling. It's a much bigger idea that focuses on preventing waste from even being created in the first place. The goal is to completely redesign how we make and use things so that literally everything can be repurposed or reused. And if you want to know why this is so important, just look at this number, 9%. Think about that for a second. That's the percentage of all the plastic ever made on this planet that has actually been recycled. 9%. It's a staggering number that proves our current approach to waste, it just isn't cutting it. And that brings us to the real game changer, the big idea that ties all of this together, the circular economy. This is the systemic alternative to that take, make, waste model. It's a totally different way of looking at how we produce and consume things, and it's built around these core principles of sharing, reusing, and repurposing. And this really lays it out perfectly, side by side. On one hand, you have the old linear economy, take, make, waste. And on the other, the goal, the circular economy, built on share, reuse, repurpose. It's a fundamental shift, moving away from a throwaway culture to one that's actually regenerative.
But let's be real for a second. As fantastic as this all sounds, turning this vision into a reality is a massive challenge. I mean, we're talking about fundamentally transforming the entire global economy. And that, well, that is a serious uphill battle.
And here are just a few of the biggest roadblocks. For one, our systems are just incredibly complex. And all our dominant institutions, our economic and political frameworks, they were all built for that old linear model. Add to that the fact that we don't really have strong global enforcement from organizations like the UN or the WTO to push for this kind of huge coordinated change. This quote really drives the point home. No country is delivering what its citizens need without transgressing the biophysical planetary boundaries. I mean, let that sink in. Right now, there isn't a single country on Earth that has figured out how to take care of its people without pushing past our planet's natural limits. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. We know our current system was, in many ways, designed to be wasteful. It was designed for the short term. So the real challenge now is, can it be redesigned? Do we have what it takes, the creativity, the ingenuity, and the collective will, to build a new system that's actually designed to be sustainable?